Hi, everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here from Heal Endometriosis Naturally, and as always, I hope that this message finds you well. Today is another time to celebrate what's possible in 22 weeks and under 6 months and beyond. And I'm delighted to be sharing the lovely story of the beautiful Anita from Australia. Now, when she reached out to me, she originally came through the 21-day challenge and then did the Embracing Emotions program, and then was offered a place in the EndoBoss Academy, which is the 6 months program. Now, when she first reached out to me, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of her symptoms at the time. She was bleeding 6 to 9 days of the month, had blood clots, migraines, lower back pain, memory issues, lethargy, bloating, distended stomach, chemical sensitivities, dragging sensations down her legs. She had terrible fatigue, a lack of energy and motivation at times to do any activities, increased anxiety before her period, sensitivity to cold, dry skin, sadly had miscarriages, had terrible migraines for several days around her period, aching around her lower back, some tingling sensations, aching at the back of her legs, a lot of burping after eating certain foods, itchy inner ear, stiff, sore joints, all sorts of different sensitivities that she had as well, and bladder issues as well. Now, she also had low blood pressure and thyroid problems, which again is very, very common for women with endometriosis. So if you're relating to any of that, then this is very, very common. But she'd had 2 laparoscopies as well, and just really was finding life very, very stressful. She'd felt quite mistreated by the medical field as well, who were very dismissive of what was happening to her, and her body, and giving her the right information, except for just trying to keep her on that medical hamster wheel of painkillers, drugs, and surgery. So I really hope that you enjoy listening to Anita. She's such a beautiful soul, and very eloquently shares her journey, really well. She is still trying to, she's not completely out of pain yet, but her pain scores have reduced. She is still working on that. But she knows she's on the right track, and emotionally, she has had massive shifts and lots of progress. And as you know from listening to my podcasts and previous success stories, this is an emotional journey. So it's not just the physical. It's not just about putting endometriosis in remission, or the cysts and dissolve the cysts, or adenomyosis in remission. It's an emotional journey. Anything that shows up in the body is a reflection of dis-ease of what's going on in the deep subconscious. So she's done incredible work on the emotional side, and as I say, it is an emotional journey, and it takes a wee while sometimes for the body to catch up, but she's already seen, many progresses and positive things in her body. She's not 100% there yet. She's probably about 80% of the way there, but I'm hoping by the time this podcast goes out that she'll be 90%, if not 100%. But what I can share with you is that she absolutely knows that she is a boss of her endometriosis now, an EndoBoss, and I'm so proud to be sending out her medal and all her apparel and everything that'll be going out in the next week or so, along with her completion certificate. So I do hope you enjoy listening to her. It's a joy to interview these women. And if you've enjoyed it, please do let us know, email us, let us know, so we can forward this this, or if it's inspired you and uplifted you, because it takes a lot of courage for women to come and share their stories. And I hope one day that you'll be sharing your story too. So until then, enjoy the success story with Anita. Hey, Anita.
Hi, Wendy. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you today?
Yeah, going well. Thank you. Nice to see your face.
Yes, and I'm loving your hair. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Big change.
Yeah, very sleek, very elegant.
Thank you. I feel like I have cut off a whole lot of probably things that I didn't need to have with me anymore.
So quite a poetic act then, just chopping it all off and starting anew.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't had hair this short since I was in year 7 in primary school, and I woke up one day recently and thought, ready to go for a cut, and yeah, sort of quite refreshing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because your energy is very light and very bright, and I feel like the way you're talking, it sounds like quite a cathartic exercise to do.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, I think yeah, I sort of got to the end of the year and wanted to, I suppose, let go of some things and feel unburdened and move forward. And yeah, I think that's going well. So
amazing. I mean, it's so interesting hearing you as you're talking. Like I can feel like there's been a shift. You know what I mean? Like there's this. What I'm sensing is that you're stepping in more into your power. You know, in a recognizing the power that it's okay to let go of certain things. I think sometimes our personalities can be that we like a horse that gets the bit between its teeth, and we've got to kind of like to the end, come hell or high water, or whatever, because that's what our learning and conditioning was.
Yes.
And then as we move into this new phase, if you like, in our bodies and in our thoughts and our feelings, things actually we don't have to carry that stuff with us anymore. It's not the cross we have to bear anymore, is what I'm hearing as you're talking briefly there.
Yeah, well, I think definitely as you talked about all the different parts, and as I've been going back and doing my assignment and thinking about it all again, I think definitely there are a lot of the parts that I can relate to, like the martyr part and the good girl and trying to make everyone happy and always trying to, like you said, be there till the end and persist and keep going even when it's hard, when you don't need to. Yeah. And yeah, I think I've done a lot of reflection on all of that, and yeah, and I think there's been quite a few times lately where I, like even going into Christmas, I was like, you know, if things come up within the family, you don't have to be the one to try to fix them. It's not your problem, and you can distance yourself from that. Yeah. And, you know, you can set boundaries going into Christmas about, you know, how long you might be staying for. And, you know, the whole world is not your problem, I suppose. Like, you know, you've been caring, but
yeah, well, that's it. I think what I want to reassure you, just loving you here, is doesn't make you a bad person. You'll always have that big, beautiful heart, and you'll always care. But it was your heart was so extended and so you know, big that it became kind of thinned out to self. So that heart will always exactly. It doesn't mean that you don't care, but what I'm hearing, your awareness has really expanded. So whereas trying to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders kept you contracted, now you're expanding your awareness and your consciousness, which then in turn helps you realize you have more choices and where the responsibility lies. You know, it's hard, but we took that on in our family because nobody else did. So we took that role because we thought, well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas now we're recognizing we can notice it, and this is our growth, this is our challenge, is like, okay, is this my stuff or is this their stuff, you know? And that's where the journaling and the tools come in really helpful to give that observer status, isn't it?
Yes, I think definitely. And just being able to maybe let go. And I think also I've been thinking a lot about going into situations because, for so long I've been I've always cared, of course, what other people think. And for so long, I've always tried to act in a certain way and dress in a certain way and do things a certain way because I want everyone else to feel good and feel happy and help them and fix them and do all these things. And I think I've had this slow process of trying to let go of that. And I feel like, because after so many interactions, I've always, done all that self-analysis and, you could have said that differently. And, they might not have liked that and all these things. And I'm trying to come away from interactions and just go, hey, that, not beat myself up for all those little things. It's funny. It's such a little thing, but it's such a big thing as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is profound because you do realize like the energy that's coming from your thoughts now and from your beliefs, your feelings about yourself, and being able to let go of that tension is literally freeing up your cells to have energy around it. It's going to produce proteins and all sorts of different, your cells are going to literally produce differently because of the chemicals aren't going to be swimming around it anymore. The tension is going to be around it anymore. And it's profound. And it takes a wee while for the body to catch up. But I'm really hearing a lot of release, which is just, really very profound.
Definitely. I think, reflecting, leading up to our conversation today, I've been thinking about how I felt this time last year. And I remember being on the couch for about 2 or 3 days, just feeling completely and utterly exhausted and worrying about things that had happened within the family and just feeling like I could hardly move and just this fatigue and brain fog. And so much earlier in the year, I felt like, someone would ask me a question and it felt like I was searching in my mind in an empty box trying to find the answer because I feel like I didn't have my memory there to reach. And I feel like coming into this year, well, certainly there are a lot of things that possibly are more overwhelming than last year. I'm feeling differently about them. And I guess taking on board what you've been teaching about preserving my energy and refilling my cup each day with my meditation and those strategies, and not feeling guilty about it, because I had this real sense of guilt every time I'd sit down and rest. And that has left me. I feel like, this is time for me. This is an important time for me. And by making myself well and feel better, I'm a better mum and a better wife, better friend, and all of those things. And I feel so differently, even though I've just been working on the final essay for the course and spent a lot of time on that. And I didn't feel guilty in the process. I just, could get into it and work on it and go through and review and revise all the tools and things that I've been learning about, and feel okay with that. I think definitely I'm feeling in a different frame of mind compared to where I was. And I think that's been the big thing for me this year, is the emotional growth. And like you said at the beginning, that idea of coming home. And it was funny, one of my friends was asking in our group, what would you post as, a couple of words for this year? And the words I chose were coming home to self.
Ooh,
I feel like that's it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, oh, that's really moving. It's really powerful. How does that feel, saying that out loud again?
Really good. I think it just feels amazing to, really start to believe again in yourself, and believe that idea that, yes, I do have all the knowing and understanding and innate ability in my body to heal and get better and know who I am and know what I need, and then ask for those things, whether it's to the naturopath or the doctor at times, or, if I go to the EMDR therapist, or if it's to my husband, or, whatever. And yeah, ask for what I need and be able to tune back in with myself and feel that, yeah, just I don't know, that greater sense of comfort and knowing that I can meet my needs, but also can, ask where I need to as well.
Yeah. And I think it's beautiful, you saying coming home to yourself, because I think before we didn't know who ourselves were. We were so, just what you were saying earlier, like you were searching around in an empty box. You were frozen to say the right thing in the right way for the right person at that time. Before, and before might not work now, and you just get yourself in something. But now you're kind of like letting go of all those beliefs that you have to be perfect. There's nothing wrong in perfectionism. It has its place.
And I'm still struggling with that side.
That's okay. I think that's okay.
That's my die-hard part.
Exactly. And I think, again, interesting use of words, my die-hard part. We will be perfectionists to the end, even if it kills us. And that's the thing that we're learning is part has served us so well, but it's like with any part of us, if it goes too far to the other side, as you know, my saying is the secret to life is balance.
Yes.
The balance is awareness, and the secret to awareness is journaling and meditation. So then it allows you to kind of check back in with yourself and observe these things. And I mean, it gives me such joy to hear those words, come back home to self, because I know when at this point, and as I say, I know your body's still got to catch up, but I have abject faith in your body, because again, you've had another quantum shift, and I don't use that word lightly, quantum shift, I can hear. Your body's going to catch up, but it's this coming home to self, this when we start using those terminology, feeling sense of peace, little bits of joy, because I think we all start this journey looking to be happy, looking for happiness. And of course, destination, what we learn on the way is so much more. There's all these treasures and things along the way, but coming home to self, it's just like, it's just,
sort of a relief.
It is a relief, isn't it? Because life has been such a struggle on so many ways. Of course, that's, in my view, why endometriosis has shown up. This disease has shown up because it's these deeper levels of disharmony that have been going on subconsciously, because a lot of our beliefs that we take on are taken on in the first couple of years of our lives about ourselves. So this is wonderful to hear you say coming home to yourself, because perhaps it's the first time ever in your life you've allowed yourself the space and the place and the expanding consciousness to see who I am. What do I think? What do I feel? Not what should I do, or what would that person want me to say or do, because that puts a whole different energy in the body, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think you're sort of retraining yourself, really, aren't you? Retraining yourself about those thought patterns, and I think that takes time.
I think it does.
Realization and awareness.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, my other saying is that half the battle is awareness. Once we become aware of it, and that's where the journaling is so key first thing in the morning, and the meditation gives ourselves that capacity for awareness without overwhelming criticism and perfectionism, which we drowned in before. I still have to watch now. I have to watch. I have to be very mindful of my parenting partners to come in and go, Wendy, step back, let go. Really? So I don't sit here like having it all sorted, but I do recognize how to support myself, and that's what I'm hearing from you. You're recognizing how to support, and it's so super simple that our perfectionists want to overcomplicate it, and we want to go out there, and it's right here, one side all along.
That's right. And I think for probably a while I recognized that I probably wanted to do some emotional work, and after separating from my first husband, I probably thought, it would probably be good for me to see a psychologist. But actually taking the step to get there, that felt too far. And I always kept thinking, that was a nice thought. And by doing the program with you, it gave me the confidence, and I guess it strengthened my desire to actually do it and go and see my somatic therapist. And I'm going to be going this month also to do EMDR, which I'm really looking forward to. And I think it's just that next level of, because I felt really nervous leading up to it, but actually getting there. And once I got there, it was really easy just to be able to talk and work through things. And I've noticed big changes in my dreams as well. Within the first week, I noticed I was dreaming differently about the topic and feeling differently about things. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I think that's been a big thing for me this year, is seeing my dreams and how active they've been in processing what's happening, and also the way they kind of, I suppose, have fluxes, rises and falls, and how that's changing and moving forward. So, and it's been nice to be able to talk to you and Maxine to know that is a good thing, and that's what's happening, and that is my body releasing and processing. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think how many years you've been storing those thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and sensations and triggers and traumas and trials and tribulations, and it's interesting when you said that you felt uncomfortable almost reaching out for help, because I think a lot of stigma put on women with endometriosis. You have to fight the gynecological field to be believed. So then you start your own sanity, and then you start to think, there must be something, inverted commas, wrong with me, so therefore shame comes up, guilt comes up, you see how that spiral would go down. But the essence of the program is to help you step into that power within your empowerment, and it's ultimate, because you're recognizing through your journaling and meditation what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, separating them from what you should think and should feel and what other people might want to hear. And then by the time you are reaching out to someone, there's not shame or guilt attached to it. There's a I talk for myself here, no other women, that you get to that point where you just think, you go to the dentist to get your teeth checked, you go to the hairdresser to get your hair done, you go and get your nails done or whatever. So our poor little emotions and our mental capacity doesn't really get a cleaning of the cobwebs every now and again. And sometimes you don't know what's stuck. These cobwebs are sticky, and they stick to things, and they get stuck and triggered, and but there's a lot of stigma. That's why I talk about emotional health rather than mental health per se, because there's a lot of stigma attached to that word. And I think it's such a shame, because we're all human. We have all these feelings, and sometimes, unless we're taught how to work with these feelings and to address them, see them and observe them and comfort them, embrace them, what the heck do we do with them? Shove them down. That's why addiction is at an all-time high around the world. So many addictions. And that's why depression an all-time high, because people don't know what to do. So they shove it all down. So it's marvelous hearing you talk like this. I really hear this quantum shift again in acceptance for yourself. Because I think what I'm hearing is, well, you understand that you want to keep progressing rather than go for perfection. And that progression will come from seeking safe external people who can keep you on the path that you're now on. You're on this pathway now, Anita, and it's a beautiful pathway, and so much opportunity potential ahead now. And that's also a bit scary for a part of you, because it's like, we want stability. What's happening, I know, because I used to be that person. And keeping moving forward on faith. So, and this is where, if you get the right people, and again, if you go to your EMDR person and it doesn't work out, you have permission to say thank you, goodbye, and find someone that does. I think you understand that too. You keep seeking the people that are going to expand your safety so that you can keep going inward. See all the treasures that lie in there.
I think definitely a lot of what you're saying there is resonating. And I think you're talking about the idea that We don't talk a lot about emotional health and mental health. And, I started talking about some of these things with my book club group, actually. And I was telling them that I was wanting to see a psychologist.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a really big thing. And I was actually in tears in this conversation because I was, it was a big step for me to start talking about it. And everyone's like, I can't believe you haven't been to one yet. I've been and done EMDR, I've been and done this and that. And it really, I think sometimes we miss that normalization of, the processing and the emotional health. And as you said, the maintenance, whereas, going to the hairdresser is normalized. So I suppose it's also, I feel like I've been talking to a lot of my friends and also making a lot of new connections recently, and talking about different things in a way, and really being more open to, I guess, explore some new areas, which I think is really important, because I think as women we need connection, and that connection is support for our journey.
Absolutely. And I think it's funny, isn't it? I wonder where and why there's been this shame put upon people to even talk about it, because it's obviously originated somewhere in society that it's not socially acceptable to talk about needing support. I think it takes a great amount of strength and character to say, what, I'm doing it. But that's kind of by the by. The fact that you are able to be in a safe group of women, to be able to share that openly, is so validating on so many different levels, that it's, and I think perhaps as well, our own perfectionisms would have cast judgment on it. It was a sign of weakness, sign of failure to reach out for help. And potentially in the past, when you were younger, maybe you reached out for help and it backfired, or somebody used it against you. So there would have been all these tentacles, and roots as to the whys. But what's important now is you're trusting yourself to expand that and explore that, which again is a lovely reflection back to yourself. But a part of you needs this. It is a sign of weakness. In fact, it's the most incredible sign of strength to reach out for the right type of support, and recognize, you might reach out for support, as I say, and it might not be the right person, but it doesn't mean you don't stop getting the right sort of support that you need to keep coming home to yourself.
And I think understanding that's a big step, isn't it?
It's huge. It's huge because you trust yourself now. I hear that you trust yourself now. It's still new, so it's still a little bit like, can I really? But this emergence of that inner wiser you is there. It's there now. Nobody will ever take that away from you now, and it's just solidifying that and bonding and integrating that more, because that is where your instincts, your intuition, your wisdom, which is non-tangible in some realms, which is eerie to our type of personality, because we need tangible, we need solid, concrete. And that's what we're learning to smile at and kind of bless that part, or those parts of us, while we integrate other parts of us as well.
And I think, talking about the intangible, something I really loved is meditations that you've recommended. Gives you that chance really to connect with the universal energy. And I think it's really, I find it really comforting and soothing, and I don't even know how to describe it, but just that sense of connection that I get when I do that meditation particularly. I just feel so much more at peace, and like you've got the whole universe backing you in a way. Yeah.
That's lovely. Even hearing you use the word peace, exactly. And tested with, lots of research and science behind it, the way that the music's all set up. But I think that's it. When we start this journey, we're contracted. We're pained in our body, pained in our emotions, pained on so many levels that we're contracted. And we even you describing, a couple of days, this time last year, you were a couple of days in the sofa, just trying to deal with the emotional fallout of Christmas last year, the exhaustion, the confusion, the misunderstanding of who am I? So this really how and meditation and journaling helps you clear for the first time, who am I? And and I am is connected to such a wider field, which again, when you start the journey, feels very scary because you don't have your roots, grounded. But when you got the roots to who you are, you can then, like a beautiful oak tree, start to expand and bear fruit, on these things, because you can
exciting.
You can do so more confidently because you've got those roots to that sense of who am I. And of course, I think what is exciting for me, for you, is that you're going to keep uncovering so much more about yourself as you keep moving through. This is just literally shoots coming up through the soil. There's so much more, and it's such an honor to be part of so many women's journey, because this is just the beginning of the journey for you, just the very beginning. And if you can keep having faith in the tools, no matter what, the journaling and meditation, no matter what's happening, they will guide you deeper into yourself, which will allow you, ironically, greater expansion into the world and into the universe. Because I believe, what's happened to you and your life experiences have been teaching you, training you for your future purpose.
Yes. And I totally feel, and even actually the somatic therapist said the same thing to me. She felt my energy contracted, and that was a number of weeks ago. But that idea of really being able to feel comfortable enough to expand. And I've heard that idea talked about with body language before, that women do tend to, for example, use body language. It does make the body contract physically, whereas men have more of a tendency to have more of an open posture and stance. And I find that interesting too.
If you think of the uterus, it's the heart of the south, isn't it? And if there's any trauma, and we've not known how to deal with the emotions of that trauma, they get trapped down. So there is this kind of natural curling over and protection of that. But I think equally, as we move through on this journey, you will go through periods of expansion, contraction, expansion, never contract back. Survive, because you were in survival before. So survival, if you think fight, flight, freeze, fold, it's to fold yourself for survival. And I think you recognize that now. You'll all the dream processing, and there'll be other things there, all of which you can handle, all of which you will be able to process when you're ready. And you'll know when you're about to make another growth, as you know, because what will you resist?
I won't want to journal.
And you see that as that's another growth spurt to happen.
What's happening?
That's it. You'll continue to expand. And then as you, it's like, I use the analogy of like a toddler or a teenager. These are critical growth periods, that the natural want to kind of go out into the universe, into the world. And it's like, scared, and come back a little bit. And then you peek behind mummy's legs to go out again. So this is where the self-care takes so important. And again, preparing yourself for the journey, continued journey. So the perfectionists go, oh my goodness, this is it. I knew this was going to happen. It's not going to work. No, it's just a little bit of a freak out, a little bit of scared. But that continual expansion is a beautiful feeling, isn't it? Just to keep the idea of keep expanding. So
I think so. It's so exciting because it opens you up to possibilities. And I love something you talked about with the part earlier in the year, where you talked about balancing the perfectionist and pusher and pleaser with those aspects of creativity and fun and new possibility and playful child and all of those. And I feel like I'm in a position where I'm starting to, play more with those. I've been doing more craft and thinking of new projects and doing things like that. And I think also it's just also the thought process. I'm feeling a lot lately when I'm journaling. I feel very creative in my journaling, and I have a lot of ideas coming as well, which is really exciting.
I told you this is just the beginning. It's going to be bursting with creativity. If you keep with the tools, I promise you, I have so much creativity bursting out of me. I have to parent all this because I'm like, and this and this and this and this, which is like years before it was shrunk and shriveled and like, you know, in a corner. Now I'm like, I have to literally put reins on my creativity so much. And you'll be the same. It's wonderful to hear. How does that feel, you know, when you're hearing and seeing all this creativity coming out onto the pages?
I think it's lovely because I guess it's so related to that sense of growth, and coming into the program, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to grow and move forward and be in a more comfortable and happy state. And I guess in order to be able to, you know, be creative and feel in that space, you have to have, I think you have to have a sense of space.
Yeah.
Like that sense of expansion where you do feel like you've got the time and space to reflect and think what else is possible. And it's just, such a lovely sign of what's to come, I suppose, and opportunities and being open to those.
And what do you think inhibited that before?
Well, I think a lot of it worrying what other people thought and that I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that feel now when you think about that?
I think sad in a way, you know, thinking about that and thinking, you know, of how much I myself and so many people prevent themselves from acting out their full potential because they're worried that it might not be good enough for other people. Whereas, you know, and I think also, you know, I've often felt too nervous to say what's really important to me for fear of it being rejected. And so often the things that I've really wanted to do the most, I really wanted to say I haven't said. And so I think moving more to a place where I feel okay to say them and okay to start creating ideas around what I really want to do and connect with people who, you know, are going to be aligned with that, and hoping to attract those people into my life. It all feels great.
Yeah. And even just as you're speaking, you sound like that energy that you're putting out. Of course, that's going to attract the right people now, isn't it?
Yes.
But what do you think? Looking back, you know, when you think even back to the 21-day challenge.
Yes.
You know, when you think back to them when you started, like,
yeah,
I heard you felt sad, but do you also have a little bit of compassion for that Anita, like, you know, 8 months ago started that? Because, you know, I just want to say what an amazing part to get you on this pathway, because that part got you on. But are you able to have more compassion for you then?
Oh, I think definitely. And you know, I don't think that part has totally gone away. It's, you know, all those parts are still there, aren't they?
Of course. Yeah, it's a part of you.
Yeah, that's recognized. And I think that's such a big thing, isn't it? Like, you talk about teenage parts and child parts and, you know, compassion and self-parenting part and all of these things. And so often now I have, you know, I think, oh, that's not fair. Why is that happening? Or things like that come up. And I'm like, oh, yep, that's my teenage part wanting to stamp my foot. And that's okay. I imagine myself stamping my foot and then go, but that's okay. And that's what it is. And let's look at what's, you know, how we move forward from that. And, you know, I think being able to have that compassion for those parts that aren't okay with what's happening is really important. And one of the books you recommended, the name's out of my head, but it's about happiness, or the happiness trap.
Happiness trap.
That idea that we all think we should be living in this, you know, blissful bubble like in the fairy tales. It just like sets us up for letdown, because we do have rises and falls and we've got all these emotions and parts to experience, and just recognizing that they can all have their place and, as you say, seat at the table, I suppose. I think allows you then to be able to have more compassion for them and go, well, that's okay, that's a normal part and I can feel that way and that's all right. And I don't have to suppress that feeling. I can allow that feeling to be in amongst all the other feelings that I have, and I can, move forward and ride the waves.
It just sounds very liberating as you're speaking. It sounds like having the knowledge and awareness of all these different, the kaleidoscope aspects of ourselves, because we are all very simple, but also very complex. That's the oxymoron of who we are and our emotions, and even the biology. Our bodies are amazing. And even the concept of our emotions and parts, that really helped me to understand all of me, but also to allow the space for parts that have been shamed away, to owned. They were still operating in the background. So it sounds very liberating hearing you talk with this acceptance without the judgment, and having a wider comprehension of the awareness is huge, which is amazing. That awareness gives you more choices. It gives you more information. It gives you more kind of like comprehension, and continues on the expansion, doesn't it? Because you're going to other parts not met yet, because they're going to be safe enough to come, because you're creating fertile ground for a lot more creative play, fun, joy, all those other parts that were hiding because you were in survival. If you had said at the beginning of the 21-day challenge that you'd be talking like this now, would you have believed it?
I don't know. I do try to be optimistic. I'm not sure. Certainly not how I felt back then. So it's definitely a pleasant move in a positive direction. But I mean, I think it's always hard to see what's possible when your eyes are closed. And I think, I think having like what I valued the most about being in this challenge and being in the group is having you lovely ladies around to be able to talk to and recognize and have, I guess, talk about those believing mirrors, and have people who go, well, yeah, that's understandable, and I see that, and what about this? And talking about your your fairy godmother on your shoulder to be kind, and those parenting parts, and talking about all the strategies to use along the way. I think it's very freeing, and it's certainly put me in a position where I felt comfortable and safe to explore so many aspects of myself that I didn't feel comfortable and safe to explore before. And I never would have thought that I'd be journaling every day like I am now. I mean, I've written journals before, and health journals and things, but not like this. And I think I feel so free now with what I can write, and I don't feel worried about anyone reading it, or even if they do, well, who cares kind of thing. But I do keep it private still, but just I feel such freedom to actually write down on the page what it is that I'm feeling. I don't have to hide it or write part of it. I can actually write the whole thing. And so I think being able to actually feel my whole emotion or whole thought about something is really great. And also I find when I'm journaling, so often my brain starts thinking about all these things. It puts me into this stage of thought and processing all these things. I have to remind myself, keep writing, write it down. My brain goes on these tangents, and anyway, I get back to writing, but I feel really comfortable exploring the whole gamut now. What I write down on paper doesn't have to fit into the neat box. Everything is okay, because that's a part of me. And I really appreciate you teaching that all parts have a place, and all parts have helped, to keep you safe and to survive and get you to where you are now. And, to be able to acknowledge those parts and thank those parts for what they've done, and to be able to also say, well, it now can be time to rebalance with other parts that are going to serve me better now and going into the future.
That's wonderful. I mean, even just hearing how you're writing and things, I mean, so liberating. I keep coming back to that word liberating, freeing up parts of you that were in the shadows, that were dominated by the parts that, you learned growing up had to be evident and visible because they kept you safe. Whereas now you're allowing everything to come up and be seen and heard and accepted. I mean, I can feel how that would feel in your body. I mean, and I think it's quite a weird concept, isn't it? This whole kind of parts and beliefs and journaling and meditation. And I know when anyone starts the 21-day challenge, they're like, all very well, Wendy, but how is this journaling going to help my endometriosis? You know?
Yes.
Just trust me. And
that's right.
Going to work? Because your left brain's going, you know, I'm in perfectionist mode and I'm pusher mode, people pleaser mode. How on earth is this journey? I can't see the tangible line, you know, between the pen and the uterus. How on earth does that work?
Yes.
It's kind of, but of course, we're such complex beings at the same time. We're simple beings. So a lot of what is background operating in our thoughts or beliefs and in survival is deep in the subconscious. So how on earth do we access that safely and quite quickly? Because, you know, before I realized all of this, I went to like 10, 15 years of therapy. I didn't want to talk anymore of therapy. I talked the hind legs of a donkey. I knew the origins. You know what I mean? Where I knew that this is actually very, even just as you're saying, your mind's starting to expand when you're writing, because freeing the backlog overflows onto paper. So and it just gives you that observer perspective, which separates it to give the wisdom that you've always sought, where perhaps, you know, you sought externally for that. I used to go around going, someone just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. What should I do? Tell me what to do. And then tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. So it was just like this cool thing. And it's like, I learned that I needed to get people weren't about me, but I had to get back to myself, and that's these tools are so supportive. And then of course you actually start to understand that deep subconscious of why the body's been pushing out the cortisol and the, you know, the adrenaline, and why the system's impaired because the nervous system is dialed up. So then you start to be able to go, I get
that's why the journaling works.
That's why the journaling works.
Right. And it's amazing, like I'm just saying all of this, I'm thinking, yes, I do think I've been on this journey like you're talking about, from this point of journaling's great, and I can see that I can track my symptoms and how I'm feeling, but I don't think I ever would have imagined that being able to create freedom on a page would relate to, you know, freedom of emotion, and then I guess freedom of energy within my abdomen, and I guess release.
And it's weird for us, isn't it? Because of our perfectionism and because of the type of people that we are, you know, we're very professional, we're very organized, we're very perfectionist. So we like order and we like to see tangible kind of scientific stuff. And this is actually all based in science as well.
Yes.
You know, you start reading Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he talks about, you know, nanoparticles and atoms and energy. Our cells are more affected by energy than they are by chemicals, by toxic chemicals. So this is where
it makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, but it's not something that's really talked about, and it's a shame because the medical field is all about painkillers, drugs, and surgery. So there's a form of almost detachment from our bodies, a lack of understanding of. I think as well, there's a lot of shame put upon women with endometriosis that it's women have to fight to be believed, like for decades, and you know that doesn't help set up an environment. Someone says, "Well, it's all in your head." I got told I was a hypochondriac. How many times? I'm like, do you genuinely think I consciously chose this life for myself? No.
Why would I choose this?
Why would I choose it? So when we start this journey, we're fighting a lot of those ghosts. We're fighting a lot of those, you know, projections from family who didn't understand. Or going, "Oh, you're not still ill, are you? And you look okay." All those comments that hurt and wounded along the way, we're able to put on paper, and we're able to separate, whilst allowing, you know, the nervous system and the cells to do what they want to do, because we don't have to actively tell the cells to do anything. We just have to keep clearing the clutter, providing space and place for the body to do what it wants to do. And it's a shame that the medical field, I hope in time to influence that, but to affect the change in those realms of medical training, even in schools and things like that, because it's so exciting to me, the possibilities with our, let alone our mind and our emotions, you know?
That's right. And you talk about, fighting to be believed. I mean, even after I'd had my exploratory laparoscopy, my gynecologist was saying to me, well, you're not symptomatic of endometriosis, even though, my ovary was attached to my uterus, or my uterus was attached to my bowel, and that endometriosis, she said, was too serious for her to operate in that situation. I'd have to be prepared. And, she was acknowledging how serious it was and how unexpected it was for her. And then still telling me, even though I've now seen all of this within your body, you're still not symptomatic. Like, well, why did I come to you if I didn't have any symptoms? I wouldn't be here if I didn't have any symptoms.
Gaslighting. Crazy making.
And I felt so upset going from that place. And I think being able to sort of let go of, all of the times where the doctor just said, just take Panadol, just take ibuprofen, even though you're getting these massive migraines nonstop, and your gynecologist telling you not symptomatic and all these things. And as you said, you're like fighting to be like, well, I've got this disease that you know about, but still it's not somehow being recognized. And so almost like you fall into the chasm sometimes. And so being able to find the right people to be able to support you, and then also to be able to come back and go, well, actually, it's not all of that that's going to be helping me. It's coming back to myself and understanding myself, and then being able to recognize what I need and is what's important. And I love that through the whole course that you've been guiding me to feel back into my body and see how that feels, and take things slowly so that you can really learn to notice. And I feel like I've always been sensitive in a lot of ways, but I feel like I've taken on a much greater sense of being able to tell, like if I eat something and I know I can actually feel, even though it's a tiny little ingredient in that, I can actually feel the difference that's made in my body, and all of those things. And when when I felt myself get tense, and then have noticed I get tired after that. And so noticing all of these things that are happening in the environment and how that changes how I'm feeling. And so being able to then come back and realize, well, there's a lot that I can be aware of, and I guess start to learn new ways of believing and acting around that, so that I can actually feel a lot better and heal in my body. I think that's very exciting, because it's gone away from, well, actually it doesn't matter what the gynecologist said. It matters what I say in my heart, and what my heart and my body and my mind and my soul know, and what my energy feels.
But I think that's, I mean, obviously the gynecologists are just a byproduct of their training, which is what I always say. So their training, I think, is outdated and needs to be modernized. And I'm
agreed.
Some professional EndoBoss coach training soon, so I want to train professionals, because again, they're the first line of that women go to, and I hope that there'll be certain professionals that will be open, because it will be contrary to what they've been taught. But at the end of the day, and I'm sure I know there's some brilliant people out there, brilliant doctors and stuff, who've questioned their training and gone beyond that and expanded on that, which has been amazing. And it's people like that I'm hoping to appeal to, because I mean, how bizarre that your gynecologist said to you, look at all that's there, but not actually, acknowledge the disease for what it was. How dismissive, how upsetting, I was feeling you of old when you were talking about that. So how do you process all of that while you're still trying to get through the day, get through the week, plan, trying to move forward and trying to when you're getting dealt with that type of, feeling? It's very destructive to the sense of self and identity. So you start to separate from yourself. And of course, the journey is, of course, connecting to yourself, because hearing you say this, you now when you eat something, immediately. And it's kind of like, crikey, I didn't know I had that much awareness about my body. And then there comes the responsibility of, and I better not ignore it next time. I don't know, try and push that. And then push that line, and we're like, nope, come on, what is going to happen? And I think this is where we can laugh at ourselves and kind of have the compassion and the kindness And that, that inner parent that goes, really, that's and then you can kind of enjoy the journey rather than feeling told you can't eat that and don't eat this and don't do that, because that just allows the adolescence to come out in full blown tantrums and go, it's not fair, why me, I'm just going to stuff you, and then of course nobody wins. So this is where the pause is so key, because you're dealing with a human. This is why there's so many, like Dr. John Sarno and people like that, they understood there's so many subconscious things that we're working with that and you're still a human with feelings and emotions, people are because nobody's taught this, nobody's taught how to pay attention to their body. In fact, you hear that Netflix documentary Social Dilemma is so alarming, that all these corporate IT organizations don't let any of their children to the age of 14 have an iPhone or go on the internet and stuff because of all the conditioning and the messaging. And there's just so much bombardment of people now. You've got a condition like endometriosis that you're fighting to be believed, and you're just fighting to get a diagnosis, trying to explain to friends and family what's going on, and then you're like, well, what now, what next, how can I help myself? And then you're just either cast to the side or to fight to be believed. It really erodes that sense of connection. So the journey is connecting through food and products and property paths and people, all that stuff of like, like you were saying, that energy, I really notice how I felt around that person. And then you'll feel guilty that you notice that they're so toxic, you're drained afterwards. You're like an empty balloon afterwards. Whereas before we would have gone, oh, it must be me, I just need to try harder, or maybe they didn't understand me, maybe the not sweet tie ourselves. So how does it feel kind of like talking like this today about this profound shift that you've had in your view of yourself?
How does it feel? It's a good question. I suppose in a way successful. I feel a real sense of success and achievement, because I feel like I've come a long way, and in a way I haven't gone anywhere, because I've come back to myself, which is where I was all along.
Well, just every time you say that, it gives me goosebumps down my arms. Every time you say that. But that's it. The success, but your success has been self-made now. I provided the framework and the tools. At the end of the day, if you didn't apply what was there, you wouldn't achieve the results. So I want to give you full credit for being an amazing student. And
thank you. It's been hard work, but worth it.
Well, I've always said, I've never professed this journey is easy, because it's not. What we're doing is we're rewiring our brain. We're rewiring. We are checking our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions in a loving way, so that we can, put some light on that. But of course it's challenging. But actually, when you look back, look how quickly you've moved through like these critical periods, this traumas, the processing and stuff that you've done is profound. Think about it. But when you're in the emotion of it, remember, the emotion would have wiped you, drained you, because there was so much more, and there was numbing and distraction and all sorts of things going on. But pay attention, we're releasing all of that from the body each time. So it becomes easier. And I think I'd said to you, it's not that we get triggered as we move forward on this journey. It's not that we won't get upset, but it's how quickly we move through the trigger, how quickly we move through the upset is now the measure of our growth, if you like. That's the measure of success. So it was wonderful to hear you use the term success, because you were an amazing student. You were very dedicated. I don't invite anyone and everyone into the academy, because I recognize it takes a certain personality type, an individual, to keep going. And you demonstrated that from the very beginning. Right from the very beginning, you from the 21-day challenge to embracing emotions, you were really dedicated. So I hope that you give yourself appropriate recognition for that.
Thank you. I think, yes. I think in writing my final essay, I thought,
I've heard it's 19 pages.
Oh my gosh, it's so long.
I love when my students get so excited by what they've learned. I genuinely do. I took my calendar for next week, and I'll go and sit in a cafe and read it, because that to me is exciting, because it means that you've really embraced it. Like you've integrated it into your cell, because this is for your daughter, this is for your granddaughter. This is now a learning of the physical, emotional, and the spiritual journey that you've done.
Yeah. And I think, you know, as you're working on something and you are going through a journey, sometimes you just have to keep going one step at a time, even though it's, you know, you can see the lights there somewhere, but it's hard to see where it's going to be and when it's going to really show up. And you just have to have that faith that if you keep going one step at a time, you'll get there. And I think there was some, you know, nights when I was doing my projects or whatever along the way where I'm like, oh, you know,
is this going to work? Is this going to happen?
I want to get there, so I'm just going to do it.
And that's it. It's that fear of failure. Is that fear that it's going to be different? Is that fear that it's not going to work? Yes. Every single woman has it. This is why.
Yeah, because you're facing it all. And it's just like when I was saying, when I first enrolled in this, and when with this course, and when I enrolled in the Next Foundation Advanced Emotions course, when I, you know, was on my way to see my somatic therapist, it's hard because it's putting you in that situation of discomfort where you actually have to deal with the root cause of the problem. And, you know, none of us really like dealing with, I guess, confrontation or dealing with problems. And in a way, it's not a confrontation in that you're having a big argument, but at the same time, all of your parts are learning to have a new balance, and you're really having to come up against the things that have been the hard things that have stayed stuck with you and stopped your body from healing, and having to go back into those things and really look at them and understand them better and understand, you know, how that's affected my body, I think has been really challenging. But I've also been amazed at how emotionally driven, I think, so much of my pain and fatigue and all of that is. And if someone had said to me last year that, I probably would have thought, really? Because it's hard to really understand. And now at this point, I'm so glad that I did the Embracing Emotions, Empathy and Energy course too, because I feel like for me, that's been my major area of work this year. Like, I'd already put a lot of work into my nutrition and, you know, the practical things around my house, reducing toxins, although you've helped me to take that to a deeper level again. But having to go back into the emotions and deal with the things that were being suppressed or that I'd tried to just move on from, you know. And I think when you've had to go through a period of time, I mean, at my worst pain, 3/4 of the month, I had a major migraine. Every day I was teaching in front of a class, putting on a smile. And then, you know, in my lunch break, I'd be laying on the floor in my office trying to get a little bit of relief. And I think when you've been through such a time where, you know, you're just trying to keep pushing everything down to keep it contained so you can keep going, because you feel like if you let it rise, it's terrifying. And so to be able to actually, coming back to the confrontation, I guess, confront that head on and look at, well, I need to deal with all of this because it's not going to go away. And be able to deal with and understand all of that has been, really good. So hard, but really good and worth it. And yeah, I love how I'm feeling, and I'm loving everything that I've learned. Loving the tools and the new habits that I have. And yeah, it's exciting to, I think, be able to look forward then with I think a greater sense of openness and awareness and creativity, and feeling excited about the next possibilities that will come. And that doesn't mean I know, you know, what's ahead, but just knowing that, I'm headed in the right direction is, I think, very special.
Absolutely. And even as you're talking, you don't know what's coming. You're good. The start of this journey was going out on faith. Was some part of you knew you sought me out because some part of you knew, that wiser part knew you needed a different pathway. You needed to do things differently. And you've continued along that path. And now that you're coming to the end of this section of your journey, you know, you're moving into a new chapter, but you're still going to keep moving forward on faith. And it is exciting. And there's still going to be parts of you every now and again going, oh, what does this mean? What's going to happen? And that's when you parent yourself into this. Slow is fast, journal, meditate. What are the tools? How can I support myself? Who do I need if I need safe support? You know, so I feel like as you're talking, you've completely got this. Like you completely understand this, like in yourself now. You know, every fiber, every cell in you really gets that you are the master, the mistress of your body now. Like you understand your emotion. And even when you were saying about confronting, I would say it's more embracing rather than confronting.
And it's funny that you say that, because as you were saying that last part, I was thinking it is that idea of coming together and knowing that there's not a separation. You know, I think a lot of people, you know, people talk about themselves as endo warriors and, you know, fighting their endometriosis, and use a lot of words that are quite angry against part of their body. Yeah. And I think, while I use that term, I don't mean in an angry way before, but I think being able to know that, well, everything that's in your body is part of you. And I think while you continue to maintain a sense that part of you is not, part of you is not okay, and you don't like it and you hate your body and things like that, it doesn't set you in a positive space to then heal those parts. I think, you know, I think that in some ways the language and the thought, it would be positive if it changed more to that support and healing and supporting the endometriosis to heal rather than attacking the endometriosis.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you're an EndoBoss. You're a boss of your endometriosis.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, isn't it? That's where we become a boss of it. You know, we've fought many battles and we've won the war, but we've done so as a boss of it, as in like a parenting of it, rather than and because it saddens me when I hear people be so angry and aggressive about the body and the disease as if it's separate from them, but of course it is part of them. But equally, I understand at different stages, you know, women are still understanding themselves, understanding the disease comes with understanding themselves. So I appreciate various stages that women are at.
That's right. And things don't happen overnight, and how you feel about yourself and your body won't suddenly change because somebody says it's a good idea.
Well, I always remember, I think myself and other women, when we start this journey, and Maxine and I are reflecting back any harsh criticisms that we're hearing, or perhaps should have some compassion, that's where the tears come, because it's kind of like, no, I've beaten myself up my whole life, you're asking me to be nice to myself now. You know?
Yeah, and that can be really challenging, can't it? I think many times you guys have talked to me about that, compassion and I guess those kind words and the fairy godmother and what would she say, and being able to encourage that is such a big thing. And I mean, I suppose when the world around you has taught you that your endometriosis is something that needs to be dealt with as a separate entity, then that's how you tend to approach it. We are creatures of our learning and our environment, aren't we? And so being able to be taught something that can, I guess, change maybe the way we think about it and feel about it, it's exciting. And
what would you say to any woman listening to this who's kind of recognizing that, you know, the gynecological field isn't working for them, they're getting sicker, they're scared, they're frightened, and they're like, you know, they're kind of like, what would you say to someone? I mean, obviously now the pathway is the 21-day challenge, and it's a lovely way to get a sense of, I get everyone's like journaling and meditation, Wendy, how on earth is it going to help my endometriosis? But it's more than that. It's all the treasures that you find on the way, which is the treasure of yourself. But what would you say to someone who's sitting on the fence right now going, won't I, will it work for me? How will it work? And feeling a bit scared?
I'd say you've got nothing to lose. Coming into this, I didn't know how my body would respond and if it would be helpful, but I think it's probably one of the best things I've done in my life in terms of really feeling empowered and feeling like, I suppose, feeling that sense of knowing. And so I think, for any women who are listening who are thinking, should I do it? Yes, please do. Go ahead and try it. Give it a go, because it's learning the tools that probably nobody has offered you before. And it's learning a new way of thinking about your condition and a new way of being able to interact with your body through these daily tools. That then allows so much growth and allows you to tap into the area that you're maybe scared to look at, that is your emotions. And it gives you that sense of empowerment and freedom and safety and encouragement and support to actually go down deep and sit, that saying of, becoming comfortable in a position of discomfort, or how does it go?
Comfortable with your discomfort,
it's like stepping outside your comfort zone and learning to feel comfortable with that. I think that is so strong. And I think the women that I met in the 21-day challenge, I still keep in contact with most of them, and they were such a driving force as well. And we supported each other and encouraged each other, and you, Wendy, and the team were just so encouraging and positive. And the thing, this is probably in the 21-day challenge, the biggest thing that I found is that every other endometriosis support group that I have been part of on Facebook has been overwhelmingly negative. And coming into your group, it was so refreshing to be able to come in and feel like, hey, this isn't going to be a source of drain. This is going to be a source where, I can come here, feel uplifted and positive, and feel really encouraged to take that next step, to do my journaling today, to do my assignment tonight, because this is important to me and I'm worth it. And, it increases your determination. And I think the vibe of the group was fabulous. And that's really what helped me kickstart this whole journey. So, yeah, definitely worth it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. So as we round up here, and I'm going to pause in a minute and we're going to chat a bit more at the end, but what does the future hold for Anita?
What does the future hold for Anita? Well, we'll see, won't we, I suppose? What does it hold? Well, I think really the world's my oyster, I suppose. I would like to see a growth in our family. I see another child in our future and more fun. I see opportunities and connections and a sense of peace and joy continuing, really.
Amazing. And did you ever think 8 months ago that you'd be saying this now? I think you'd hope to be saying
such enthusiasm and sense of like really trusting that to be the case. I mean, I think I've always felt optimistic, and I think I've always had this sense of knowing that I'd be okay, but there's a difference between, knowing it and really feeling it and embracing it, and I guess feeling excited for the potential of the future.
Yeah, and even if you're saying that there, it's like being okay, but I want you to be so much more than and already, the difference in energy and your vitality and aura, if you believe in that kind of stuff, is vast. It's really, really tangible. So look, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your journey. Any parting words before we wind up here?
Well, big thank you to you and Maxine and the team and the other ladies who've been on the journey with me. And thank you for yourself for taking the brave step to, I think, start the EndoBoss program and to start the academy and write your book, because your bravery has been able to help me and so many other women to be able to really, reach their potential and move towards their potential and embrace life. And so I think a big thank you. And I feel very grateful that I've been able to have this experience.
Oh, thank you so much. That's super sweet of you, and I appreciate you saying that so much. Well, look, you keep being the EndoBoss that you are. Keep you number one. And thank you so much for coming on, Anita.
Thanks, Wendy.
Hey everyone, I hope that you enjoyed listening to Anita and you feel really inspired. What I wanted to do is also share her closing questionnaire. What I read from earlier was her opening questionnaire. And I think this is such an important thing, is to monitor and track and trace the journey, because whatever is happening in your body right now, I promise you, when you get to the other side, when you get through to the other end, you'll forget. And it seems like almost an incomprehensible idea that you'll forget any pain or suffering that you're in right now, but you will, especially when you get to the other side. So we asked Anita, what improvements have you seen in your body since starting the program? Just my sense of anxiety, feeling on edge has reduced considerably. My energy levels have increased. My feelings of self-belief have returned. My periods have been through some changes, and my headaches and migraines have improved. She has noticed a big change in her periods. Rather than spotting and brown, they're just bright red. Her pain scores have reduced by 50%. She's also been learning and practicing how to protect her emotional energy and establishing boundaries, and feels so much stronger. And she's not afraid to sit with her emotions anymore. She understands and explores them. She's been respecting herself and her time more since becoming a mom. She'd always felt guilty about herself. Now she's felt a big shift in terms of how taking time out for meditation or activities leaves her to have more time and energy and focus on her daughter. She's noticed a big improvement in her relationships, better and more comfortable using her voice, setting boundaries. She's always been wonderful at helping others, but sometimes over-giving to the point of exhaustion. So she's learned to really reserve and protect her energy. She finally says, what would you say to anyone considering taking the EndoBoss program? Go for it. You'll notice growth in so many areas of your life. And like I've said before, it's not just about the physical. The physical clearly is the end goal that we all seek, but there's so much more to all these treasures and jewels that you find within yourself. And as I say, I hope you feel inspired. This is a journey that you need as much inspiration, information, education as you can. So until then, in the meantime, if you want to learn more about the programs that are on offer, there's the 21-day challenge, which Anita started, then went into embracing emotions, and then the academy. It gives you just a taster of what it's like to start paying attention to yourself, start listening to your feelings and your thoughts in a way that don't overwhelm you. Then, or if you feel that you've done a lot of emotional work and you're ready to get down to the nooks and crannies, as they say here in Scotland, right to the root causes, then you can get more information about the EndoBoss Academy at healendometriosisnaturally.com/programs. But until then, as always, keep you number one and to your health.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one, for the world needs a healthy you.